Hey, welcome to episode 4 of Unfiltered. My name is Dan, and on today's episode, we are on the ground with unfiltered footage from this past weekend's rally for Alberta Independence that was held at the legislative grounds in Edmonton. Now, I've got to be honest with you. What I was expecting to see when I got there wasn't at all what was happening. Between two rallies, about 100 yards apart, you had our friends from the Indigenous community holding an anti-independence rally just before the Alberta Independence Rally was to start at 1 p.m. And we have footage of both for you here today. We also have some interviews from those that were both at the anti-independence rally and the independence rally. Plus, I've got some answers that help me at the end of the video. So stick with me all the way to the end, because when I walked away from the independence rally, I actually had more questions than answers. The rally was good. The speakers were great. The energy was intense. But I walked away with some questions. And one of those questions were answered today, and I'm going to share that with you at the end of the video. So to begin, and it's all unfiltered, this is the raw footage, raw audio from Saturday at the Alberta Independence Rally. To begin, let's start with the anti-independence rally held by our friends from the Indigenous community. To kick off the Alberta Independence Rally, he's the MC and an Albertan, Mr. John Bolton, on respect and a little dig to legacy media, the CBC.
This isn't about who won the election. Something else I have read online since Monday. This is about respect. We've earned it, but we get none. For decades, this province has been asking for respect. In 1987, Preston Manning started the Reform Party with the saying, "The West wants in." We never got there, and almost 40 years have now passed. Mr. Manning properly read the room a few weeks ago and wrote that Alberta separatism would rise if the Liberals won the election. But this movement would have progressed whatever party came out on top. There is always another government around the corner that's hostile to Alberta and the West. CBC.
One of the most, I think, disappointing things for me being at this rally this weekend was the fact that we had two opposing groups sharing the same space. I mean, they were like 100 yards apart. You had the Indigenous community with their anti-independence rally, and then, of course, the Alberta Independence Rally, which was a much larger attended rally. So the two just about spill in together. And you can hear in some of the video that's coming up, the Indigenous community really interrupting the speakers at the Alberta Independence Rally, to the point sometimes where it was very distracting. And look, I totally understand if you're in a position where maybe you're unsure about what Alberta independence looks like, or maybe you're just absolutely flat out against it. You are a sovereigntist, you want Canada to stay together. That's your right to believe and to feel that way. But there's got to be some respect when there's a public event going on and you want to try to be louder than the people trying to speak at their event. You'll hear that here now when we hear from Michael Wagner, author and historian, talking about why Canada can't be fixed.
Can everybody hear me, man? Okay. Welcome to our meeting this afternoon. My talk is called "Canada Cannot Be Fixed. It's Time for Alberta Independence." After decades of futile efforts to reform Canada, It's now time for Alberta to strike all on its own and form a new independent country. The case for Alberta's history, or the case for Alberta independence, can best be understood by looking at the province's history. For generations, Albertans have been ignored or even exploited in Canada. And eventually this feeling has reached the point where many believe that the only solution is to form a new country. What is now known as the Prairie West was originally part of Rupert's Land, the vast northwestern wilderness territory of the Hudson's Bay Company.
So as you can see in that clip, the anti-independence rally from some in the Indigenous community who were literally 100 yards away were really trying to disrupt or interrupt the speakers from the Alberta Independence Rally. It was really a shame. And there was even someone from the anti-independence rally who had a megaphone that would continually disrupt and give us his thoughts through his megaphone in hoping to disrupt. But then, just as the rally started, this happened.
I'm on the speakers list, and I really hope that everybody on that side will stay until I can talk. I have a question here. If everybody here who respects the treaties and respects Aboriginal rights could please clap. Second question. My family is half Aboriginal. Who here has family that is Aboriginal? Could you please clap? I just ask for respect from this side of our meeting here. I have something to say that I'd really like you to hear, and we're going to talk to you about how we're changing the administration of the land. It's not related to your treaties or where you live. You had your rights before we did have ours, and we're talking about a transition of administration, not removing you from your land and not violating any treaties. Would you please listen to our presentation, and you can hate us later. Thank you.
A few minutes later, David came back to the stage. David's been a political activist since 1992, and he wanted to talk to the people about who runs the government.
So today, primarily, I want to talk about two things, and one of them is the moral issue of, is it right that we're trying to redesign our government for our region? Is it morally right? Are we being radical to do it? Is it out of line? And I have to go back and say, we had more than one colony of Britain. So I want to just go over quickly what some of the other colonies did to put your mind at ease. That realizing that people run the government doesn't run us.
There's no doubt that all the speakers at the Alberta Independence Rally knew exactly which buttons to press to get the crowd fired up. Everybody was there for the same purpose. Really, the underlying message was they're just done with Ottawa. Absolutely done, and they want things to change. And the next speaker that came to the podium, I think most people came to see. It's the interim leader of the Wildrose Independence Party of Alberta, speaking on a number of different things, including how much money does Quebec actually get, transfer payments, and energy.
In 2019, Alberta posted a deficit of $8.7 billion, while Quebec had a surplus of $4 billion. Why? Because Ottawa sent them $13 billion in equalization payments from the West. And when Quebec says no to pipelines, they get rewarded. I like to call it transfer payments because there's nothing equal about them. Since 1961, as stated before, Alberta has contributed over $630 billion, while my guess is probably close to $1 trillion. Quebec, they've received well over $500 billion. And don't forget the National Energy Program, the largest single net transfer of payments in Canadian history, resulted in $70 billion out of Alberta, mainly going to Quebec
and Ontario. Let's talk about the Constitution. In 1982, Craig Trudeau locked Western Canada out of real power. He made sure that no constitutional change could happen without Ontario and Quebec's approval. That's not democracy, that's domination.
You're watching Unfiltered. Appreciate you subscribing to the channel. Thank you. And stick with me all the way to the end, because when I walked away from this rally, to be honest with you, I had more questions than answers until today. One of those questions was answered, and I'm going to share that with you at the end of the video. The next speaker up at the Alberta Independence Rally, he's an entrepreneur and economist, Bill Jones.
For independence. Do we measure our independence based on the size of our wallet?
It's our children's future.
If Ottawa ended the transfer payments tomorrow, gave us our pipelines, gave us an extra $1 billion a year, would you all go home? Is self-determination the reason we're standing here?
Yeah!
The right to make our own decisions,
That's right.
earn our own living,
Right to
no
freedom.
matter the cost.
This being Unfiltered, I not only wanted to get the perspective of the Alberta Independence Rally, but I also wanted to get, when I saw that there was an anti-Alberta Independence Rally happening from some of those in the Indigenous community, not just the Indigenous community, but others as well. I wanted to get their side of the story as well. This is Marlene, and this is what she had to say.
He's in debt. Let him use your money.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Marley. I am against separatism, obviously. I realize people have the right to make a referendum, but I don't appreciate my tax dollars being wasted on a referendum, on an idea that's entirely unpopular.
This being Unfiltered, a channel that hits the ground running, looking for the opinion of Albertans at the grassroots level. I think it's only fair to show both sides. There were two rallies within the same space, only 100 yards apart. And Caleb was there for Alberta Independence. Go ahead.
Hey Dan, I'm Caleb. How are you?
Good, thanks. Good. So what brings you here today?
We're here for Alberta freedom.
So are you on the side of complete separation, partial separation, a redefinition? What's your drive?
I'm on the side of complete separation.
What drives that feeling?
I believe that people should have the right to their own self-determination, that when nations are too big, they leave out the little guy. I believe that regions know best what's needed in their own jurisdictions. And when you're just too big and you're too preoccupied with the Central Canada and the elites over there, they just can't possibly fulfill their duties to Canada.
When I say government overreach, what comes to mind for you?
Stopping us from getting our product to market, stifling industry, forcing down the political beliefs of Central Canadians on Albertans. That's all part of it.
This is Unfiltered. Hey, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. If you've done that, make sure you turn on those notifications, because as the channel grows, we're going to have more on the ground video like we had today of the various events that happen around Alberta, regardless if it's an independence rally or not, if it's just a rally, if it's a speaker, if it's an event, we're going to be there on the ground bringing you all the details unfiltered. If you went to the Independence Rally this past weekend in Edmonton, drop in the comments what you walked away from the rally with. Was it more questions than answers? Did you walk away fired up and you wanted to do something more? Did you want to volunteer? Tell me your thoughts of the Alberta Independence Rally if you were there in Edmonton. For me, I actually walked away with more questions than answers, to be honest with you. Yes, there's a feeling of the want to be independent. There's the feeling that we're done with Ottawa's overreach in Alberta, and in fact, I think it's happening in Western Canada. But then I was like, how is this all going to happen? I see all of these different groups on various social media platforms, all wanting a version of either independence, sovereignty, maybe a 51st state with the United States, all these different ideas. And my thoughts are, if all of these groups don't come together and have one solid voice, one solid direction, then the entire message is fractured. Until I saw this. This is from the Alberta Republicans, Truly Strong and Free, and it reads, in a historic show of unity, the Republican Party of Alberta and the Independence Party of Alberta have signed a memorandum of understanding. The MOU consolidates political momentum behind Alberta Republicans as the vehicle for advancing Alberta independence and long-term prosperity. So there's two groups coming together to share the same message, to achieve the same goal. If this is exactly what Albertans want, then that, I believe, needs to happen. All the groups coming together, one common message, one common goal. What are your thoughts on that? Comment below. Again, I appreciate all the comments. Thank you so much. It's really appreciative. I'm going to try to get back to all of you. If I don't, I apologize. And thanks for subscribing to the channel. We'll see you on the next video. This is Unfiltered.